Romans 11:36. For from him and through him and for him are all things. What does that tell me? God is sovereign because from him and through him and for him are all things. What are all things? Like, think about that for a second. I think when we say trust in God, it's like we rah rah and we hoorah and we sing the elevation worship song, I trust in God, but we don't actually put that in our feet. Like, we don't actually walk out of church or Sunday services or songs, and we don't actually change. Like, we don't actually go and we don't actually live our lives in such a way as if we are trusting the Lord. Hi, friends. Happy Thursday. It has been straight up like Florida weather here in the Atlanta, Georgia metropolitan area. I mean, truly, I feel like every single hour, it's like burning up sunny or it's raining. And it just alternates like that every single hour. It's very odd. And, when you're in Florida, that's permissible because you have the beach to look forward to when it's not raining. But when you live in a concrete jungle, well, that's not. Atlanta's very green. Got some great greenery. But when you live in a place without a beach, does not make the constant water, rain, sunny influx bearable. But that's okay. That is okay. How we doing? Happy Thursday. I'll be honest, I had an idea of what I wanted to talk about today, but we might go another route. Actually, no. I think we're gonna stay on route. We are actually gonna stay on route today. How is that for Thursday? Typically, I'm like, let's go 6 different routes, and I thought we were gonna go, but we are gonna stay on route today. Weekly updates. Things are good. I have my bridal shower this Sunday. It's been such an interesting season with the wedding planning and working and all that stuff and doing the podcast and all these things. And I think I'm really just beginning to just find the beauty in accepting metamorphosis and change and things that I like, becoming more okay with the fact that my desires, what I find fun, what I find restful and replenishing might not be the thing that I found fun, restful, and replenishing before this experience. And what I mean by that is, I was recently talking to a friend about this. I feel like we're almost officially 90 days out from the wedding, which is crazy. I feel like recently I've really felt this cocoon mode type thing. Like, I just got promoted, I got a new job, I am having a wedding in 90 days. It's like being okay with recognizing I can't say yes to everything right now. Like, I really have to learn how to say no to dinners, to get-togethers, to things that I genuinely love doing, but I genuinely just like, I can't give that right now. I can't give my time. I can't give my energy. It doesn't mean I don't care about people. It just means that in this season, I don't have capacity just for the things that I used to have capacity for. And I think that we as humans, we struggle when things don't look like previous frameworks or things of context that we have. You know what I mean? It's like we freak out when almost God like moves us in a different direction in life, whether that is a new job or a new area of expertise or a new season. Like, we lost someone we thought would always be in our life, or we do have something like a wedding or all these things coming up, a move, we're going to college, like whatever it is. I think we freak out when things don't look like the way they once did or used to, even if we're walking in a one time what was a prayer request. Like, so many times God answers our prayers, and then we have like 6 more prayers after our previous prayer got answered because we're like, wait, what? All this stuff is changing. And so I say that because I think where I'm learning right now is the power of saying no and being okay with saying no. Whether that's saying no to things that, like when you're an overachiever, when you want to like achieve and achieve and achieve, people tend to take advantage of that just naturally. I think in any setting, they'll take advantage of that. It's like, well, of course Annie will do it. Of course she'll have that. And I think now I'm realizing the power of saying, well, no, I wasn't asked to do that. I can't do that. I don't have the bandwidth to do that. And this is what I have the bandwidth to do and to do well. And that's hard for me. That is really hard for me because it makes me feel like I'm letting people down. And so I'm having to learn how to give myself permission to do my best and like what I can truly offer and then calling it a day, whether that's, work related, friendship related, that's hard, especially like the wedding and all this drama. And you're just like, what? Why is like, I didn't even know this existed. Like, what do you mean? And so I say that because you're going to have things in your life, and you probably do right now, that you can think of that you're like, oh yeah, been there in that. Currently going through that, or you will, because that's life. So I think it's navigating like how to give yourself permission to just do the best that you can and call it a day. And at the end of the day, I think, and this does get into what we're talking about today, even though it might not seem like it does. When you think about what we are talking about today specifically and kind of why I wanted to get on here, it's because I think sorry, I do not mean to be yawning. If anything, that means I'm putting myself to sleep. I've been good with giving up caffeine for the past 2 weeks. So no caffeine. This is like sparkling water. Anyways, when we think about why we typically fall into these like people pleasing patterns and tendencies and behaviors, why we find ourselves spreading ourselves so thin and really kind of giving away, as these secular people would say, giving away your power, is, I would say, draining yourself in capacities that God never asked for you to do. I think it's because the root of that is we don't really trust God. We don't trust God to make us good enough, to make us worthy enough. We don't trust God when he says we already are. We don't trust God to make our path straight. So we feel like we have to figure out, manipulate our way there in order to have enough friends or have enough job security or have enough savings or have enough family or make sure our kids are okay. Like, it all comes down to, do we trust God and do we trust who he says he is? And today I want to look at the story of a disciple that denied Jesus and disassociated with him. But I think the biggest power of when Peter was like, I don't know the dude, after Jesus' resurrection, is not necessarily the fact that Jesus was saying, or Peter was saying, I don't know Jesus, is that he was actually denying who Jesus claimed to be. And I think that's where a lot of us, our challenge, our problem, our tension lies. So I actually want to read the text for you. So we're in Matthew 26:69. It says, now Peter was sitting outside in a courtyard. So remember, Jesus, he hasn't been crucified yet. So he is currently with Caiaphas, so the high priest. So Jesus gets arrested. Peter is like running away, but then he still follows. Like, he still kind of trails behind to see what happens. So that's the scene. And basically, it says a slave girl came to him and said, you also were with Jesus the Galilean. But he denied it and said, I don't know what you're talking about. And then he basically went into another gateway, and another girl saw him and said, this was the man with Jesus, that guy that's like with Caiaphas, the high priest right now. And Peter denied it again. But this is what struck me. The second time, he denied Jesus 3 times, but the second time he said this. He didn't say just, I don't know what you're talking about. He said, I don't know the man. I do not know the man. The man. Hold that. After a little while, those standing there came up to Peter and said, you really are one of them too. Even your accent gives it away. And then Peter began cussing. He literally started cussing. He cursed and he swore. He said, I don't know the man. I don't know that dude. I don't know that guy. And then the rooster crowed and all that. And most of us know that story, right? What struck me is, who was the first disciple that said, when Jesus asked, "Who do you say I am?" Who was the disciple that spoke up just a few chapters earlier and said, "You are the Christ. You are the Son of God"? Who was it? It was Peter. It was Peter. That's when Jesus was like, Simon, son of Jonah, the Spirit has revealed this to you. You are the rock in which I build my church. That's when he changed his name to Peter, Petros. Like, you are the rock on which I build my church. Petros, I believe, means rock in Greek. I might just be making that up. Don't fact check me. But that is what Jesus said. It's like, you are the rock on which I build my church. Peter, so you're telling me Peter, the same dude that right now is basically denying Jesus, like, I don't know what you're talking about. I was never with that person. He was the first person that said Jesus was the Son of God. What's so powerful about Matthew 26:69 through 75, every time I've heard this read, it was in regards to how grave of a mistake Peter made in disassociating from Jesus. It was a dissociation. That's hard to pronounce. Dissociation sin. It was like Peter basically was saying, I had nothing to do with this. Like, don't associate me with that man. But it goes so much deeper than that. It wasn't just a, hey, I don't associate with that. It was an actual denial of who Peter, just a couple of chapters, claimed Jesus to be. Peter said, I don't know the man. The man. Just a few chapters ago, Peter said, you are the Son of God. And now, not only is Peter disassociating from his past and reputation with Jesus, he's denying who he believed Jesus to be. So one, if you're iffy, or you have friends and family that's iffy on if Jesus is the Son of God, they're in great company. Peter was too. The resurrection hadn't happened yet. Christianity, like, that did not exist. If the resurrection never happened, Christianity would not exist. The resurrection is the hinges on which our faith rests. That's what makes us different than any other faith. I mean, for so many reasons, we're different than any other faiths, mostly because most other faiths are like, you have to make your way up to enlightenment or up to God. And Christianity is the only faith where God came down. Like, God came down because we couldn't come up. That, and two, our faith is built on a historical event, not just this, hey, I had this dream and this happened. It's not like someone's word for it. It's a historical event that's been time and tested. And so we get this cue in on like how fallen the actual people that walked with Jesus, how much they had fallen from believing he was the Son of God right before the resurrection. I say this because, and you go on, what I love about the story of Peter is, especially in Matthew, the story of Peter denying Jesus and then the story of Judas hanging himself are right next to each other. And I think what's so powerful about that is, you think, what's the only difference between Peter and Judas? Peter being the guy that preached on the first Pentecost, the guy that Jesus chose to build his church. What's the difference between Peter and Judas? They both denied Jesus. They both messed up. But Peter simply accepted the grace of God to turn the page and keep going. Judas felt like that was it for him. No grace could reach as far as what he had done. I once heard a Bible preacher say, like, I feel like Judas, I mean, just imagine if he didn't hang himself. And when Jesus came back, what that interaction would have been like, like Jesus just forgiving him and being like, but look what God did with it. I can just imagine when it says a couple verses later, like Judas tried to go and return the 30 silver coins to the priests, like just the guilt. Can you imagine? I mean, just that he felt like God's grace after everything he saw Jesus do. He felt like what he had done, the grace couldn't reach that far. I say this because with Peter, I think when we are in positions and we are in spots and we are in circumstances where we start trying to people please our way to things, or we start trying to manipulate things, or we start trying to reconfigure whatever it is we can to make us feel like we're in control. You know what I mean? Like we're trying to get this job, get this promotion. We're trying to get into this friend group. We're trying to keep this friend group. We're trying to get that significant other. We're trying to keep that significant other, whatever it is. I mean, we're trying to keep our ego. We're trying to keep people from figuring out about something. Like whatever it is, I feel like the crux of our tendencies to reach for things is because we don't trust who God says he is. It's the same thing Peter went through when he said, I don't know the man. Because it's not just, we say trusting God, like you just got to trust God. Like it's this blanket Christian cliche statement. But like when it says trust in God, what does that actually mean? You know, like what does that look like in my life? And I think when you actually take a step back and you think about what that looks like in your life, that looks like trusting that he's sovereign. Romans 11:36 talk about how he uses all things. All things. Let's actually read it. I was listening to, I just love how I like look up Bible verses as we're speaking because they just come to me. Okay. So Romans 11:36. For from him and through him and for him are all things. To him be the glory forever. Amen. For from him, through him, and for him are all things. What does that tell me? That tells me that person at work that's trying to take credit for your success can't mess up the plan that God has for you. That tells me that those friends that are irritated because they didn't get invited to something, or because they think you said something and your intent was something, you can't screw it up because God is sovereign. It tells me that that bad gambling decision you made that left your family in a risky situation, or that left just you personally in a risky situation, or you just feel so much shame, so much guilt about it. God is sovereign. He didn't cause you to do that, but he can redeem it because from him and through him and for him are all things. What are all things? Like, think about that for a second. I think when we say trust in God, it's like we rah and we hoorah and we sing the elevation worship song, I trust in God, but we don't actually put that in our feet. Like we don't actually walk out of church or Sunday services or songs, and we don't actually change. Like we don't actually go and we don't actually live our lives in such a way as if we are trusting the Lord. I mean, what if you were on a tightrope walking between two skyscrapers in a city? And one of them, one person had a net underneath that was the cushiest, most comfortable net. If they fell, they were going to be fine. And it was the kind of net that would just bounce them right back up to the tightrope. That person would walk a lot different than someone that had nothing under them. Yet as Christians, I feel like we're preaching, I trust in God, yet we're walking this tightrope of life as if there's no sovereignty from God, as if we are sovereign and we have to figure out what's next and what's coming and what's happening. And I think when we live our life that way, I think it breaks God's heart. It doesn't make him any less powerful. It's not like God needs us to believe he's sovereign to be sovereign. It's not like God needs our prayers in order to be more powerful. It's just because it's for us. Like, I think God's heart breaks when we don't trust him as sovereign in our life and trust him as the Son of God, as Peter originally said, because it changes the way we live our life. We become more timid. We start to crouch down when we were supposed to play. We start to be quiet in areas where we were supposed to give advice. Or maybe we speak neurotically like a babbling brook because we're insecure and we feel like we have to fill the empty spaces when we could have just had the confidence to be quiet and shut up and listen. When we live our lives in such a way that we don't actually believe God's sovereign, we miss out on life. That's where fear creeps in. And then that's where the enemy can creep through the door. For so long in my life, I had this fear that I could mess up my life. Like I remember just being in a slew of just thoughts around, like, do I marry this person? Do I not? Do I go on a date with this person? Do I not? Do I put that in the book? Do I not? Do I even, like, sometimes I'll get in my head, like I'll be at like Publix or something. Oh, this is a great example. Last Friday, I had like a buttload of doctor's appointments, and there was this man. I was walking around like my chiropractic complex, and there was this man, and I really felt like the Lord was like, because this man started talking to me, and I felt like the Lord was like, he needs to know Jesus. Like I felt that impression, and I didn't share Jesus with him. And I tried to find him again to share, but I couldn't. And I was so in my head about that. I was like, did I just screw up this man's eternity because I didn't share Jesus with him? And I was just, and so I think if you're like me, that might sound crazy to you, but for me, like I think about that stuff. I'm like, was I not responsible? Did I not take ownership of that situation? Did God trust me with that thing? And I didn't like do it. And anyways, I said that because Romans 11:36, from him, through him, for him are all things. You can't mess up the plan God has for you. You can't mess up the plan God has for someone else. Other people, circumstances can't mess up the things God has for you because it's not from other people. It's not from you. It's not through other people. It's not through circumstance. It's not for other people. It's not for you. It's for God in his glory, and it's from God in his power, and it is through God in his mercy and his grace and his kindness that we're here today, that we're here right now in this conversation that's kind of one-sided. And so I say that just to offer you the encouragement, the suggestion, friends, like ask God, pray. I've been like praying nonstop for a lot of things, and prayer works, y'all. If it doesn't change your situation, it changes your heart. Ask God for a renewed belief and desire that he's sovereign. Ask him for it. I promise you, he will deliver. He will deliver. What a beautiful prayer. Like, God, please give me a heart that remembers and believes in your sovereignty, that I can't mess up my life, that other people can't mess up the plans you have for me because they are not sovereign. You're sovereign. You get the final say. This disease can't mess up my life. All these things, they can't mess up my life because they're not sovereign. You're sovereign. And all these ounces and, pennies of worry I've spent freaking out about these things could have been spent in worship or prayer to the only one that's actually in control. And so on that, I leave you. Heavenly Father, thank you for who you are. Thank you for loving us so wholeheartedly. Thank you for giving us the grace and space to be fully with you. I pray for hearts that belong and believe and are rooted in your sovereignty, the sovereignty that never ends, that never fades, that never dwindles, Lord. We love you and we lift up our life to you. Amen.